It's really good. We've been looking forward to it since last year. And this is the best show I've ever seen.
Back and forth.
How's it going, everyone? It's CodyBPyrotechnics and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we're doing another fireworks show. We have all the fireworks in the back of the pickup. You guys may remember we did this show last year when we had all the fireworks in a circle around the modules. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it in the description for you so you can check it out. Now, fortunately, we got really lucky on the weather. As you can see, it's a bright, sunny day. It's still kind of cold, and as that sun goes down, it's gonna get even colder, but at least we don't have blowing wind and snow to deal with this year. All right, so at this point, we're just gonna work on getting all of these fireworks out of the pickup. And once we do, and we start setting this firework display up, we'll get you guys an in-depth walkthrough of everything going on. And we'll explain what's going on with all these racks as well. This is what I'm most excited for, I think.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool, actually.
So we got everything out of the pickup, and as you can see, I'm hauling our first rack. This one goes on the right, and so the right station is gonna be over here. And I kind of drew these X's in the ground where the module is gonna go. But right now, just so we have a visual, each station's about 60 feet apart. So I just wanna get these racks out right away so we know where everything's at. So this station here will be the right. Then over here, we got another X on the ground. This is the middle station. So again, the 72M is gonna go here. The entire display is scripted. We'll show you more about that here in a moment. And then way over here, we got the far left station. So I'm just gonna put the rack here. And now that we have all three of our racks up, we can start putting the rest of the fireworks over by these X's.
We ignite these through the lift charge, which means we no longer need the fuse that's given with the shell to light it. So we just pull it out. And then if you take the rack, stand it up, you can see that there's a little cardboard protector, and it exposes the lift charge. And if you just dump that lift charge down in there and the shell, when that fires, the shell goes out, you can time it to thousandths of a second. And one reason why this is so effective other than just timing is, we've never lost any height using canister shells with these. The ball shells we have had an issue with height, but when it comes to canister shells, they always go just as high and they work really well. Each rack's 5 shots. So we are gonna be putting 3 Minecrafts, 1 on each side, 1 in the middle, with 2 salute shells going up in between them. Just started with the center, kind of measured out where I thought it would go, and just kind of some different pieces of wood. I think it took me about 5-6 pieces, and just moving the holes around so we get as close as we could on the bottom. This supports the bottom from going in and out without having to have anything on the outside. It's just a nice clean way to have a nice shot fan rack.
So the reason that we've got 2 wires on this one is because this is one of the only fireworks we've used in displays that has not gone off. So I've actually put one into the back over here, and I just kind of led that with some quick fuse, used a ton of zip ties, and then I used another one right here going right into the starter fuse. Now, the reason this one's got 2 wires is because I used this in that show I did last summer. It was the solo firework display. If you haven't seen that, I'll put it on screen here. Anyway, this is one of the ones that didn't go off, and even though I put the igniter here in the front, I ended up having to pull it out and start fresh with a new one, and then put another one here in the back. So originally this cake would have been something like 30 seconds, but now it's gonna be more like 15. So this little copper piece here on the end, you have to take that off before putting this onto the module. So to insert the quick plug into the queue, you wanna make sure these are all off beforehand. Sometimes we don't do it during show prep ahead of time, and we'd like to do it on site if we have nice weather. But when it's really cold and we got major wind, this is something you wanna do in the warmth of your house before bringing it out to the shoot site. So you'll notice these 2 cakes aren't the same because in the script, I actually had 4 of these on there. Well, it turns out I only had 3. So now we've got 1 igniter freed up. We decided to use this cake in place of that. It should last right around the same time.
Okay, so we're here with 2 of these Rotary cannons. I shot these last summer in a show. We had some issues with that little small fuse that they come with, getting it to ignite. You can see it's really thin down there, so they're tough to light sometimes. It's just the type of product that it is. I got my 1.4 Pro license, so I was able to purchase something called Sticky Match. Burns super fast and super hot. So I thought, you know what? With running into the issues with these not igniting, I was trying to think of how we could get these to light for sure, and we're trying something new. And we ran it with regular fuse, just to be safe, because it's the first time we've used it. I think it's gonna light these for sure. So we wanted them fanned out, figured the easiest way, crisscross them, we'll support them, go from there.
So we're gonna be using these 2 buckets here to keep these stable. We did try to jam those down in the snow. I did not bring the right kind of bricks out here. I wanted to bring some of those bricks where, you know, they have like a hollowed out opening in the middle, and then we could put those in there. But I forgot to grab them at my house. What do you do? So this one here is pretty interesting. Wanted to talk about it. So what Garrison was talking about over there on the rotary cannons, it's very similar here. You know, now that he's got his 1.4 license, he can actually get this sticky match. And we have had a lot of issues with these large barrage style Roman candles not going off in our shows. It's just really tough with that igniter since these fuses are so small. So what we do to get around that is we actually, you know, we stick that igniter in there, basically right onto the sticky match and into some fuse here. Now that fuse is what is connecting all these together, but the sticky match is what's gonna make it go off all at once. And if you guys were curious on how I designed this rack, I basically just drilled a bunch of holes in this large piece of wood, stuck these thicker zip ties through those holes, and secured these Roman candles to the side of the rack. And obviously I drew lines to make sure the angles were right. This is what the final product looks like. To get this thing secure on the ground, we're gonna need to use a lot of bricks. So that's the only issue with this rack. Obviously this board is too thin to attach something on the side that'll keep it from tipping back and forth, but we tried our best. So with this one, I'm kind of trying to wedge it here in the snow and use like 2 bricks on either side to keep it in place. If I could go back, I probably would have brought a stake out here, punched it into the ground, and then put another zip tie around it to keep it in place.
So we're using 5 igniters on a 5-shot rack here because, well, one, we have a fuse shortage right now. So the super quick fuse that we typically use, we can't get our hands on it this time. We're gonna use 5 igniters and program it into the computer to fire at the exact same time. So in the script, when you time it to all fire at one time, you're gonna get that instant volley like you see in a lot of cakes where they have a finale at the end of the cake where all the shells go up at once. That's kind of the effect that we're getting here, but fanned out. One mistake that I made on these, I didn't have the bit that I was typically using on those other 20-shot racks where we can stick the igniter straight in the bottom of the lift. And because of that, we're just gonna put the igniter straight in the tube and then dump the lift charge in there. We don't wanna put it inside the shell because it could pull it with it, but we're gonna leave that down so it still protects it. But also when you put the shell in there, having that extra large piece of plastic down there won't allow this to get pulled out. Now we're not going very far with it or anything, but it's a minor mistake that's gonna have to get fixed when I get home. So just make sure that whenever if you do choose to do this method, that you drill a big enough hole that your igniters can go in the bottom.
So the only reason that I know to bring a certain firework to a certain station is because I wrote everything down on paper. I mean, I even went as far as doing something like this where I drew out where the module is going to be and all the fireworks around it. So this is something you don't have to do because right on the Cobra show creator, you can actually print off your whole script and know where everything goes. But I'm kind of old-fashioned, like to do stuff by hand. So now we're gonna get you guys a full walkthrough of the firework display. But before we do, I just wanna make it clear that we do have that station over there on the left, and we do have the station over there on the right. So when I refer to fireworks that are over there, there's only 8 fireworks per station on the left and right. So there's 8 over there, 8 over there. I just really wanted to point that out, that we do have a right and left station, and so that we're not having to walk over there every time for items that we've already seen. Now there are a couple items that are exclusive to the left and right stations. We'll walk you over there for those. But as far as everything else, it's only 8 fireworks on each left and right station. Now let's get you the walkthrough. So to start off the display, we actually have a 2-station hit on this 200-gram cake called Noisy Flashy. Now, Noisy Flashy is this little 200-gram, it looks like that. So we have one over there on the left station and one over there on the right. I'm probably gonna mix that up throughout this video because I might call that the left station and that the right, but either way, you guys get the idea. So there's 2 of these hitting with the opener. We've got one over there and one over there. So right after those 2 Noisy Flashies on the left and right stations, we come into Happy Ending, which is a 3-inch 9-shot cake right here. After Happy Ending, we hit these 2 barrage candles here from Superior Fireworks. This is called the Rotary Cannon. Both of these gonna go at the exact same time. Now after the X-shaped Rotary Cannon firework, we hit Demon of the Night by Supreme Fireworks. That's a 10-shotter right there. I had to flip these 2 around, otherwise I'll get confused when we're hooking them up to the Cobra later. But this third one here is called Victory Ring, and that's what we're gonna hit after Demon of the Night. Now after Victory Ring, which is a beast, we come into Swords of Fire, which is also a beast. There's canister shells, actual cans in this cake. It's a 9-shotter. It's gonna be louder than even Happy Ending over here, which is a little bit larger. Me and Garrison kind of have a bet on these 2. We both think that Victory Ring is gonna be louder than Swords of Fire. However, last year, Swords of Fire was the loudest firework we had in the show. But I think it's gonna be beaten this year by Victory Ring. Next one up on the script is Roswell Incident. This thing has a really cool 2-stage girandola effect in it. They are not actual girandolas, they're more like flying fish, but they do go up and down, so it'd be really cool to see that on video. Next up, we come all the way back to the front and we hit the Roman candle rack. This is definitely what I'm most excited to see in the show. So after that Roman candle rack, we come into a 2-hit on the left and right station. Now, because this is exclusive to these left and right stations, I wanted to show it to you. But we're gonna be hitting 2 of these 500-gram cakes here by Dominator Fireworks. This is called Patriotic Dominance. So we're gonna have one over here on the left, one over there on the right. After that 2-hit on Patriotic Dominance, we come into a singular noisy flashy. Now, I know what you're thinking. We go from 2 large 500-gram cakes to a 200-gram cake. You might be thinking it's not gonna be that impressive, but this is one of my favorite 200-gram cakes of all time. It has crackling mines to beautiful color shells. After this little guy, we come back with some big breaks on Kiss of Death, so that'll be the next one in line. And right after the Kiss of Death, we come into another 200-gram cake. This is called Brute Force 16 Shots by Firebrand. I think that's how you say it. Never seen this one before. Next up is Bad Boy, and don't forget this is another double hit. After that double hit on the Bad Boy cake, we come over to another left and right segment. And again, this is exclusive to the left and right stations. That means we don't have one of these cakes in the middle. So this one here is a Dominator Pro level item called Nishiki Crown Kamuro. And this is actually firing with gold Tourbillions, and that's what we're gonna show you next. And this is what that gold Tourbillions cake looks like. Again, this is another double hit to make sure it fires. And it fires a little bit after Nishiki Crown Kamuro because those actually last longer than the gold Tourbillions. After that little 3-station segment, we come into 2 noisy flashies over here, 2 noisy flashies on the right station, and an additional 2 on the left station. So the next one up is kind of interesting. It is a mortar rack, and we go by rows of 10 here, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But this is our canister shell rack, our first one in the show. We've got it hitting down here and then another igniter down here. When that row is finished, it'll kind of wrap around like that. And now let's show you what's inside this rack. So on this rack here, we're gonna be using this safety fuse by Shogun Fireworks that has a burn time of right around 24 to 30 seconds per foot. Now this is a 20-shot mortar rack. However, each rack gets 2 igniters, 1 for each row of 10 tubes, and those 10 tubes we have timed out at 28 seconds while using this type of fuse. And I'll show you guys our fusing method here in just a moment, but before I do, I want to show you the configuration of the shells within this rack. So these are the 20 shells that are inside the mortar rack, and we start over here with 1 igniter. That igniter is going to trigger the first 10 shells in the rack, going all the way down the row. Now these are the maximum impact 4-inch cans, and then we trigger another igniter hit down here to send it back up the next row of 10 coming this way. So it's the same way you would fuse a canister shell rack on the top, like a winding river, except we're bypassing the connection over here and instead using an igniter. So there will be an igniter here and down here. Now the first 12 shells to go are going to be maximum impact cans. The following 6 shells are Make It Pop by Pyrotechnics, and the last 2 in line are just some filler shells I had left over from a 24 kit. Now I will briefly go over how we fuse these racks together, but I do have 2 full videos on this method. If you want to check them out, the links to those videos will be in the description. Basically, I'm cutting about 3 inches of that 24-second fuse, and if you look closely, you'll notice all these little holes on the bottoms of these tubes, and that is where we're going to put our 3 inches of fuse. We'll just put it into the hole like this each time, and you push it down. We're basically making our own 500-gram cake here, but using canister shells to do it, and that's what it's going to look like all the way down your rack. Now you never want to be loading your canister shells in before this is done, okay, because we're going to use hot glue on all these fuses to keep it in place. We have had issues with the lift charge blowing the fuse out when we don't do that. So for instance, this might not even make it into the second tube if the lift charge from this one pops that fuse out altogether. So to prevent that from happening, a little bit of hot glue. Make sure your entire rack is fused and hot glued before loading any shells in it. Just don't forget, when we get to this tube right here, you'll see there's no fuse that goes all the way around the rack. Instead, we're using an igniter to bypass that delay as well, and that igniter will go into the second row of 10 starting here. So this is actually when we initiate the finale. It's going to be 2 of these 25-shot Thunder Kings right here in the middle, and then we have another one on the left station and another one on the right station. Now, following that segment of 25-shot Thunder Kings on the middle, left, and right, we come into our finale canister shell racks, which is right here. Again, this is 2 hits on the igniter for each row of 10, and these are the finale shells. So I'm going to show you how I did this right now. Now with these 3 racks, we're going to be doing the same thing we did before, but with the fast safety fuse, also by Shogun Fireworks. As you can see, this has an average burn time of 2 seconds per foot, and I've got all 3 of these racks timed out at 2 seconds each. Now when I say 2 seconds each, I'm referring to each row of 10 tubes. So each of these is going to get 2 igniters, making 6 igniters in total for our 3 finale racks. Now this is what's going to be inside those 3 finale racks. Each row is the exact same thing, so we should get some consistency in effects even though it's going to go quick. These are the Minecraft shells up front and some noisy boys in the back, and I'll go through and show you what each effect will do, but just remember, each row of 10 is the exact same thing, so I'm just going to show you one row. So in each row of 10, we're going to start with blue and red strobing mine to green and pink stars to silver lace. That means that 6 of those same effects are going to hit instantly and then continue through the rack. The next shell in line is blue and silver chrysanthemum mine to crackling red lace. Then we have blue and red strobing mine to meteor shower with red stars. Then we've got blue and white strobing mine to brocade crown and blue stars, followed by a blue and white strobing mine to silver Nishiki willow with green stars. Next up is a blue and gold strobing mine to gold Nishiki willow. Then we have a blue and white strobing mine to silver Nishiki willow with green stars. And the last 3 shells in each rack per row of 10 are noisy boys. So in total, there are 18 noise shells following the Minecraft shells. And last but not least, to finally end off our show, we have these 5-shot racks, and each one of these tubes has its own igniter. So that means literally 15 shells are gonna go up within a split second of each other on this left station, the middle station, and the far right station. That is how we're gonna end this show. We are going out with a bang. Well guys, that's the final setup for the display. I'm really looking forward to this stuff. I think it's gonna be really cool. Again, I'm super excited for that Roman candle rack. And without any further ado, we're gonna get everything hooked up to the modules. And as soon as it gets dark enough, we are firing the show. All right guys, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, guys, the show was awesome. I could not be happier with it, but we got a straggler. Check it out. Show's been over now for about 2 minutes, and we got a gold Tourbillions going. Well, obviously, besides the mess up right here, these 10 shells did not go off. We had no issues with this show, other than gold Tourbillions lasting a little longer than it should have. But this I wanted to point out. So this is one of my favorite no-abs, but check it out. The lift charge is so powerful, it actually popped the base clear off of the cake, and it functioned normally. Can't believe it. Never seen anything like that. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, Cody. Yeah. We finally had a finale finish right. I mean, that was perfect on the timing. Absolutely perfect. Hey, what'd you guys think of that? That was better than last year's even, huh?
It was.
What'd you think, guys?
Great show.